Hi everyone, welcome back to my vlog. This is my life, because guess what? This is my life. It is 12:09 p.m. here in New York. So let's start off with what I was talking about in my last video, where I was talking about how I want to discuss what I'm talking about when I say my past 3 years. 3 years ago, back in September of 2021, I was starting to have more health problems, mentally and physically. A lot of them started after I got the COVID vaccine. So, a lot of my problems I'm going to blame on the COVID vaccine, especially the ones with my heart. Well, anyways, I was at work, and it's during the pandemic. I'm an essential worker. I was working in a convenience store, and I was dealing with a lot of like irate customers. I had a 12-pack of beer thrown at me because I had to tell a person that I couldn't serve them if they weren't wearing a mask. And that was the mandate for the state of New York, that if somebody's not wearing a mask, unfortunately, I could not serve them. This guy got a little pissed off, and I guarantee it's because he couldn't purchase his beer right there, which I don't understand. Go somewhere else. Um, Even I didn't like having to wear the mask. Well, anyways, I had a 12-pack of beer thrown at me. Well, that's not what caused my issues. One day I was at work and it was really stressful, and I was on medication at the time for my CPTSD, which caused me to have anxiety, panic disorder, um, and everything. It was just really bad. So I was also on Xanax. I was placed on Xanax back in 2016 because something happened in my life where I wanted to unalive myself. And instead of getting thrown into a psych ward, I was able to be put on medication. They never explained anything to me about the medication that they put me on, but I had been on Xanax since 2016 and antidepressants since 2009. Well, anyways, I had had my Xanax dose upped from 0.25 milligrams a day to 0.50, 0.50 milligrams a day, plus an emergency dose, which would have been 0.25. Well, one night, it was really bad. It was really bad. I went off on my break, and I could not handle what was going on. So I took my break, probably like 8 o'clock. I took my break. I was working until close. I think we closed at 10. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, we closed at 10. So I took my break, and when I came back, it was time for me to close out my drawer because I worked in a kitchen. Um, I made the food and everything, so I closed out my drawer so so I didn't have to worry about my register. I was able to just take orders and everything in the kitchen, and the other cashier could obviously cash people out because it being late at night, we didn't need both registers open, so I shut mine down. Well, anyways, I took the emergency dose. Okay, I can't remember if I mentioned that I took the emergency dose. You got to remember, I do have memory problems, I do have brain problems, and you're going to understand why when I get more into this. Well, I was sitting in the office counting my drawer. Got my drawer counted, I got everything done, and then I stood up. I got dizzy. I was like, whoa. And then my head got blank. And I'm thinking, what the heck just happened here? My head started spinning. I was dizzy. I was trying to keep my balance. And then all of a sudden, I had tunnel vision. I had tunnel vision. Everything went black around me. And all I had was what was in front of me that I could see. And I was still dizzy. So I sat down and I'm like, okay, maybe it's just stress. Okay, what's going on? I've never experienced that before. That was something I never experienced before. My heart started to race. And I'm not saying just normal heart palpitations, from a panic attack. I'm saying my heart started to fucking race. And I felt like I was having a heart attack. I screamed for the other cashier. I came out of the office teetering. Okay. If there were any customers in there, I don't know. I don't think there was. They probably would have thought I was drunk because of the way I was teetering. Because I was like, trying to hold on to things because I was so dizzy. And it felt like the floor was moving. I walked over to her and she looked at me and she goes, "Are you okay?" I go, "No, no, you need to call." I can't say it because I'm using my cell phone and Siri might listen to me, but there's three numbers, emergency, need an ambulance. So she's like, "Okay, I'll call. I'll call." So she called. I sat down. Everything's still getting dark. My heart's still freaking racing out of freaking control. She locked the doors and everything of the store, put a note up that they were temporarily closed at the moment because during a situation like this, it's an emergency. We can't have customers in there. Don't know if we were allowed to do that, but who gives a shit? You know, I'm in need of an ambulance because we don't know what's going on. Okay, so it took the ambulance quite some time to get to me, which really sucked because here I am feeling like I'm having a heart attack. My heart is fucking racing out of damn control. I'm losing it because now I've gone into an even more panic because I'm like, what's going on? And I lost my mother from the video I've done. I lost my mother when she was 47 years old. I was 40 at the time. And I'm thinking, great, deja vu. My family's going to go through this again because I'm not going to get to a hospital in time. So eventually the ambulance did get there. I got put on the stretcher. The other cashier, she shut down the store for the night, closed it, did what she needed to do. I got in the ambulance. They checked my blood pressure. It was high. It was high. They checked my temperature. They checked all my vitals. They hooked me up to fluids. They gave me aspirin to try to get my heart rate to lower. But unfortunately, my heart rate was not lowering. They were having problems getting my heart rate to lower. So I ended up getting to the hospital and they hooked me up to the EKG at the hospital in triage. And it showed that my EKG was fine. My EKG is fine. So what do? Instead of having me go back to an emergency room so I can lay down and relax, they sent me to the waiting room. I got sent to the waiting room. Here I am, brought in by an ambulance, and I got sent to a waiting room. So here I am, still spazzing out in the waiting room. My heart rate's still going wonky. I couldn't understand how my EKG came back normal if my heart rate's going wonky. Well, anyways, I'm sitting in there. I had already got a hold of my boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband. I got a hold of him and told him which hospital I'm in and whatnot. And he came straight to the hospital after work. Okay. And the restaurant closed at, I believe it was 9 o'clock. I think it was 9 o'clock. Or was he at another job? I don't know. I can't remember. I told you, brain issues. Well, anyways, he came to the hospital and I was still in the waiting room. 2 hours I had been sitting in that waiting room. 2 hours. When he arrived, I said, "I'm done. I want to leave. I want to leave. Take me to a different hospital. I want to leave." So I up and left that hospital and went to a local hospital that was nearby where we lived. There I was seen. They gave me fluids. They put me in a room. They let me lay down. They let me relax and everything. And They gave me something for my heart rate. They gave me something to calm me down and whatnot. Turned the light off, let me relax. Nobody could figure out what had happened, but I started to realize what had happened because I had noticed that recently, when I would take my Xanax along with my antidepressants, I would have problems with my heart rate and I would be feeling weird. Not to mention the fact that after I got the COVID vaccine, I was having more problems with my heart. I was having more problems with my heart, and it has been proven by the CDC that some people did have heart problems after receiving the vaccine, and it was something that ended up being a long-term thing. I called into work sick, obviously, the next day because I got no sleep or anything. I was in the hospital, but I got no sleep. I called into work and said that I couldn't come in. So they were fine with that. I was still taking the Xanax. Don't know why, but I was trying to slow down on it, just take it as needed. It got to be, I believe it was September 11th of 2021. I can't remember the date 100%. I was not feeling good at work at all. My anxiety was through the roof. I was having the bad heart palpitations. I was not feeling good. And I called up my manager and explained to her what was going on, and she told me I needed to finish out my shift. She told me I needed to finish out my shift. I worked until close, and I have to finish out my shift, and it was the start of my shift. I have to finish up my shift while I'm having chest pains, heart palpitations, not feeling good, ready to throw up all over the place. I need to finish my shift. So you know what I said? I said, screw it. I found somebody to cover me, called somebody in to cover me, which I did get yelled at later on about the person that I got to cover me because it was our floater, the person that does the coolers. I got yelled at for pulling them out of the coolers to put them on my register. Anyways, my husband took me to a hospital. I got checked again. And that's when I said, you know what? I am quitting Xanax. I am done. This shit is causing me some problems. Because it seems like every time I take it, even as needed, I'm having problems with it. So that is why I decided to come off of Xanax. It was giving me more problems than it was helping me. Now, back to my place of employment. So when I did get a hold of my manager and was talking to her about what had happened and followed up with her, she bitched me out because I had pulled somebody out of the coolers to cover the register for me so I can go to the hospital. The person would be working in the kitchen, which means they could do the same damn thing that I do on a daily basis, which is work the kitchen and work the coolers. You're not constantly needed in the kitchen. And if somebody needs an order placed, the cashier can get a hold of you. They can buzz you for you to get to your register. So I don't know why she was bitching me out for pulling somebody to pull my shift when there was an emergency and I needed to get to the hospital. So yeah, I'm gonna talk more about my place of employment later on, but that'll be in the story of my past 3 years. So I'm gonna let y'all go because I need to charge my cell phone and I also need to take my beta blocker and maybe start working on this room or something. I don't know. Because I need to make this room a little more organized because, like my husband said, do you have OCD? No, I don't. I just like everything clean. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. I will be back as soon as my cell phone is charged completely. So bye for now. See you later.